to the Suicide Prevention Show. We are waking up the world and making suicide a thing of the past. We are here to have a lot of fun and to share with you something really amazing. Why? Because I want to introduce you to someone. This, and I hope you can see, there we go. We're going to be talking with Elizabeth. And she said, Jackie, don't try to pronounce my last name. Onyeabor is as close as I can get, but she'll tell you. And we're going to talk about perfectionism. And with Elizabeth, her take on perfectionism is a journey worth sharing. And that's why we have her on the show. So, Elizabeth, I know you're in the studio. Please bring yourself on camera. Let's make sure that we can hear you. Hello, hello, Elizabeth. Can you turn on your camera and join me in the studio?
Camera on.
I hear your voice. We're making progress.
Yeah, it says I can't start my video.
Okay, just a second. I know what that issue is. And Katie may not be able to fix it, come to think of it. So here we go. Just a second.
I think I need to be the host to do it because I realized I can't.
So that's okay. We're going to just promote Elizabeth and then I'll promote you, Katie.
Oh, there I am.
So Katie, you have to text me which one you want me to promote. Hi.
Hi.
So just in case anybody had any doubts, this is a live show. So what you all saw is what happens on a live show. So the elephant in the room is, yes, this is live. And I just got told that my audio was low. So I'm going to work on that. And Elizabeth, while I try to fix my audio, oh, I see. There we go. I hope that's better. While I work on that, let's share everybody where you are right now and then how we got to know each other.
Okay. I live in Nigeria and I have no idea how the internet's going to be or how my voice is going to be. So we pre-recorded some things.
We got your back. If the internet goes out, we've got Elizabeth for everybody.
Do you hear the honking outside? Like somebody's just honking. Anyway, I'm in Nigeria and moved here 10 years ago because this is where my husband is from. And the last name is pronounced Onyeabor. And it took me 10 years to learn how to say that properly.
That's true love.
And, I want to say something you said earlier about self-sacrifice when it comes to suicide. Because I remember some of the things that were going through my head. And I thought, that was the idea of self-sacrifice, because in my mind, I thought I was such a failure that my family would be better off without me. And that I just realized is really this kind of self-sacrifice idea. And it hadn't even occurred to me until you started talking about these things. And so, of course, the other one was, I felt like such a failure, but so I had these two opposing kind of things going on, but one was actually a self-sacrifice deal.
So let's talk about it and let's bring everybody into the story. So Elizabeth, who are you and what were you a failure at?
Okay, well, I am now the Chief Ease of Excellence Officer of the Habitual Happiness Hub.
Okay, the Chief Ease Excellence Officer.
Ease of Excellence.
Ease
yes.
of Excellence
CEO.
Officer. There we go. Okay, and I love the Happiness Hub. I mean, the Habitual Happiness Hub.
Right, because happiness is a practice for me. Mm-hmm. And I'll take you way back when it wasn't, and I wasn't, and this my journey really crescendoed, or shall I say the bottom fell out in 2012. And I was 50. And I remember it wasn't a night so different from many other nights. And I just remembered that my ideal situation, and just to give you context, I had been living in Nigeria for 2 years. My children were grown, they were adults. My youngest was 20. So we had, the empty nest, but we had been planning to move to Nigeria for quite some time. So, and I had a new job, and I was living in Lagos at the time, that has about 20 million people. And I had a fantastic position and making great money. And like from the outside, to anybody looking at me, it looked like I had an almost perfect life. I had a car and driver at my disposal. I had this 5-bedroom house in Lagos. I had, this really wonderful job. I was taking business class trips to the headquarters in Europe. But I took a family trip back to the US to see the kids, see my sisters and brothers, and have a family reunion. And I remember I was in my house in the US, and things just didn't go the way I had wanted, because I had very specific expectations as a perfectionist. I had the way I wanted things to go on that trip. And they'd started out actually pretty good. But this night, just something didn't go the way I wanted it to go. And when my world seemed to crash around me, I crashed, and I fell on my kitchen floor, and I howled like a banshee. And in that moment, all my hope just exhaled from my body. I curled into fetal position. They tell me, but I don't remember. Somebody in my family tried to help me up, and I just swatted them away like I was a 6-year-old kid. And I mean, in that moment, I was like, well, it can't get any worse than this. And I had been struggling, and I didn't know that I had been struggling. So here's the irony, is it wasn't until I started having suicidal ideation that I started thinking about, am I struggling with depression? I don't know. Is it my Hashimoto's thyroiditis that I had been diagnosed with 2 years before? Was it empty nester? Was it new job, new location? Like there were so many things going on. Please don't let it be me,
Ah,
right? Because as a perfectionist, that striving to be perfect, I mean, I didn't want it to be my fault, because if it was me, if it wasn't circumstances, if it wasn't other people, then something was wrong with me. And I didn't want something to be wrong with me. And that was but at the same time, so it's kind of a real juxtaposition. I thought everything was wrong with me, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't doing things right, that any mistake I made meant I was a failure. So I had these two kind of opposite ends going on. And and then, so that night, I was like, it can't get any worse. And I had that thought, my family would be better off than without me. I'm a horrible mother. I failed my children. I'm not a good wife. I'm not a good boss, all of this stuff. And I don't know how I did it because I really don't remember getting up off the floor. I remember the floor
Mhm.
and I remember being in front of the computer in the master bedroom. And I remember getting on a site called lostallhope.com. And I started reading the guy's story and I thought, wow, this guy really understands the hopelessness.
Mm.
And I read and I read, and I was looking for ways to end my pain. And, going to sleep forever sounded nice because I just wanted the pain to end and I wanted a painless, like, as a perfectionist, I was looking for the perfect way. Okay. I put my research skills into gear. I started analyzing and all of that. But then on this website, he started talking about statistics and how most people are not successful and how when they attempt some form of death by suicide, they are maimed or, for life or, terrible consequences. And I remember thinking, well, damn, I already feel like a failure at life. I don't want to screw up my death too. And then, or my attempt at death, right? And then if, like, if I fail at that, then that would be even worse. Like I thought it couldn't be worse, but okay, it could be worse. Like I could totally botch up my painless passing. And that's why I say perfectionism saved me. Because if I couldn't do my death perfectly, I did not want to do it at all. Now, I'm
Yeah,
gonna stop right
I love
there.
your vulnerability and sharing that because that is just perfect.
Yeah, perfect for the perfectionist, right? And so that in and of itself, and by the way, this is part of the mindset of us who are perfectionists. And those of you who are not perfectionists, you will not understand this. But those of you who are perfectionists, you'll be like, holy hell, like I totally get that. We either
Oh,
want to
wait, wait,
do it
wait. You just set this up as the perfect perfectionist test. So everybody can go to the chat and go, I get it or I don't get it. This is great. Okay, lay it on us. Come on.
Okay, so either you want to do it to a certain standard, whatever you call perfect or, that high standard that we have as perfectionists. Or if you don't think you can do that standard, you don't want to do it at all. Like you don't even want to start it.
Ooh, okay.
It's kind of like, I mean, here's a far less extreme example, which is, I can't tell you the number of perfectionists that say to me, well, I'm not a perfectionist about keeping my house clean. And I just laugh because, they're like, well, you have to give me 30 minutes warning before you come over. And I'm like, but orderliness has no correlation to perfectionism. Because what happens is we'll say something like, okay, today, well, my bathroom is kind of like getting grody. So here, let me just take a few minutes and clean. And then 3 hours later, when we've got the toothbrush out and we're cleaning the grout and we just go to the nth degree. But it started out with, oh, maybe I should just kind of swish around the toilet, So, so it's going to the nth degree to this perspective of perfection, or we don't want to do it at all. So, and for another month, the bathroom could be sitting there untouched.
All right. So someone said, I don't get it, but my wife sure does. We have some perfectionist projection going on here, I think.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what happened next. That night you decided, if I can't do this right, if it's not 100% guaranteed that I'm going to be perfect at taking my own life, I'm not going to touch that. What did you go to next?
Yeah. So, well, by the way, my family discovered because I left the website open, and that led to a whole series of conversations. And then they really understood how much in despair I was. And then they could start catching me when I started getting these looks. I mean, this far away look in my eyes. And anyway, so I then put and this is a second way that perfectionism actually saved me, because I went into overdrive, because I started doing assessments and all of these things. And I started reading my teenage journals, and I hadn't kept journals for years, but I did keep them when I was a teenager. And I noticed a pattern: lonely, sad, depressed. I'm writing these things at 1 in the morning, midnight, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I'm taking 7 classes instead of the normal 6, sometimes 8. I'm on the honor roll. I'm, a teacher says, "Oh, look, you got straight A's." And I say to him, "No, I didn't. You gave me an A minus." You know, I'm trying so hard to be this, perfect person to earn love. And I didn't realize that was what I was trying to do. But so I go back, and I realized that I've been struggling for decades, and I didn't know, because I kept myself so busy as an achiever. Because perfectionists, we've got our to-do lists, and we go on to the next thing, and we keep ourselves busy, because it's almost like being a hamster on a wheel of accomplishment. Like, let me just get to the next thing, and 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 then we just lay on the wheel and go, why am I so burnt out? Man, I'm not doing anything. I'm such a failure right now. Because if we're not human doing, we don't think we're worth anything. So I read books, took assessments, talked to people. I tried to get a therapist, but I was living in Nigeria, and I couldn't get remote therapy at the time from the US. And I ended up doing the exercises that in these self-help books that I read, instead of just, flipping through and say, oh yeah, okay, I get it now. No, I actually did the exercises. And then I would say about a year into this, I started writing poetry. Now, I don't know where it came from, but I realized I wasn't allowing myself to express my emotion. And I read something or heard something that said depression is suppression and anger turned inward. And so poetry allowed me to express my emotions.
Cool. That's really
And
cool. So I'm just going to highlight this, because it sounds like it was a real shift in how you saw yourself. That maybe being a poet is not how you would have described yourself.
oh no, I would have said I am very logical. I'm pragmatic, right? Helpful, because by the way, perfectionists are people pleasers. We're some of the first to volunteer for stuff. But it's all to try and fill that void that we have with never feeling good enough. Like, it's a constant striving to to make things perfect, but never feeling that those things or us are good enough. And poetry was really the first thing that happened. And it came out of the blue. I would have never called myself a poet. I would have never called myself creative, even. I thought that was other people. I thought, I mean, I was, envious that other people were passionate and creative. I came from, or I come from a very creative family, very talented. And I just figured I was number 6, I was last, and everybody else got it, not me.
So everybody else is creative. I'm not. All of a sudden you're writing poetry. I have to
And
ask, who did you share your poetry with first?
well, the very first person I showed my poems with was my husband, and then I shared with my kids and friends and family, and they were very encouraging. I mean, I thought it was just really amateurish and ridiculous, but it felt good, so I shared it, and I was kind of excited that at the possibility that I could do something creative. And and so I really appreciate how supportive they were. And you would think that after I had written about 70 poems, I might actually accept my creativity, but no, because they were not good enough.
The perfect poem had yet to be written. I get it.
Right. So, but this idea toyed in my head about, well, maybe I should publish them, but the thought of it was too overwhelming because this all or nothing thinking as a perfectionist. Either I wanted to have this really beautiful poetry book, or I couldn't do it at all. And so I didn't do it, and I continued writing poetry. But a friend wrote a book, and I was like, well, wait a minute, where did that come from? I didn't know that you were interested in writing a book. Like, it happened so fast, it caught me off guard. And she told me how she'd done it and how she used a writing coach, and and so I thought, well, maybe I could do that too.
Mhm.
And so I bought the book and followed the exercises, and then I actually wrote the first manuscript of my book in a weekend that I set aside, and discovered, oh, I'm not writing a piece of fiction like I thought I was. I wrote all about my journey into and out of depression.
You
And that
don't
was
know
the
what
last
you're.
thing I thought I was going to write about.
Yeah. As an author, I so get it. I don't know what I'm going to write about until I actually finish writing and go back and read it. Yeah, it's kind of an out of body experience for me.
Right.
Sometimes it's really pretty amazing. So I highly encourage people to allow themselves to see themselves as creative, Elizabeth, and not wait until they have gone through this uptick that you had to go through to find it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And, I'll give you anybody who's listening right now, um, a little tip. Just like Jackie said, I don't know what I'm going to write. And guess what? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you just allow whatever comes, because I can't tell you how many things that I wrote and I looked at it after I wrote it and I was like, and then I go back and look at it and I go, oh my goodness, this is gold. Like, it just needs a little polish, you know? So when I sit down to write, I actually say, I am ready, open, and willing to invite whatever wants to be explored, what wants to be written now.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Okay, so you shared your tip. I'll share mine about writing. I have mine is a little shorter, and that's me. I try to be concise. Here we go. Whatever I write is going to be good enough.
Ah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah,
So,
I,
so
I
there's some good enough
prejudge.
things going in here on here, because Mine was, I didn't know what I was going to write and I was worried it would be good enough. So I wanted to invite an exploration. And you're like,
Mhm.
whatever I write is going to be good enough. Excellent. So over time, I've now created 7 happy habits that I follow. And that's why I say I created the Habitual Happiness Hub, because I practice these things that help keep me grounded. And I have never experienced so much joy in my life as I have in the last 6 years.
Before you take us down the road of your 7 habits, what is a hub? What is the Habitual Happiness Hub? Is this a collection? What I mean, I'm like, what is it? Is this a school? Is this a collection of teachings? What is the hub?
Well, it's just the name of the business, and I don't know
Oh,
what it wants to be when it grows up yet, because it's still in its infancy stages. But the first aspect of it is that it's it's the it's the gathering place for perfectionists, I guess you could say.
ooh. Oh my God, a gathering place for perfectionists. I can only imagine the conversation.
And the first conversations I've had, because I have some online courses, so I have the Pathway Beyond Perfection course, and when we get perfectionists together and they say, "Oh my gosh, you too?" And I don't feel so alone. Wow, I thought it was only me. Those kind of conversations are so incredibly powerful.
They really, really are. That's a huge one. I'm not alone anymore. I think is probably one of the most life affirming
Mhm.
statements we could possibly give to the world. So cool. All right, take us down. Let's go. 7 habits. What's the first one?
All right. So the first, well, by the way, take out a pen and paper
There
and
we
just write
go. I warned
happier,
everybody. I got my notebook.
HAPPIER. Okay, along the left-hand side. That's my acronym. I like acronyms because, well, I used to cram for exams, and I would make really weird ones up too, but I like to make ones up that make sense because people can remember them.
All right. So
So
the word is happier and vertically
happier.
on the
Those
table.
are my 7 happy habits.
Yep. Cool. Okay.
So the first one is healthy expression of emotions.
Got it. Healthy
And
expression.
that's because I used to suppress my emotions. And, I said how logical and pragmatic I was. And I have a friend who used to call me Spock. I was so logical, right? And I didn't want to be seen as an angry person.
Mhm.
So it wasn't that I didn't get angry, but I didn't allow myself to experience the anger. And that means anger actually is a gift when it's expressed healthily, because it helps us know when our boundaries are being crossed. And I remember taking an assessment through a friend of mine, and she said, "Oh," and I got the result back and I said, "Oh, wow, like I'm in the bottom 1% for anger." I was so excited because I'm like, see, there's proof I'm not an angry person. And then my friend gives me the interpretation of the
Um,
assessment. And she says, yeah, that's not what it means. It means you don't have access to your anger. You are in the bottom 1% of access to anger. So 99 out of 100 people have better access to their anger than you do. And I was like, oh, crap. So I failed at that too.
so the cure for that is healthy expression of emotion. Got
Right. So just, you know, it's not good and bad. It's just information. And so this is why I like to say I'm curious and explore it. So that's the H. And to me, this is foundational because if you're like me, just when I started out in 2012, I couldn't handle overwhelming emotion. So I like to say it's like dipping your toe into, one of these inflatable kiddie pools. Just dip your toe into the motion. Just start noticing and notice how it feels in your body and things like that. Don't try to go out and surf the tsunami in the ocean of emotion. That's for experienced practitioners. Build up to it, right? Those emotional muscles, so to speak. So the A of happier is allow forgiveness. Now, this was a crucial part of my healing because I was so hard on myself. Remember, I told you that I thought my family would be better off without me. I was, I'd failed as a mother, I'd failed as a wife, failed as a boss, failed, I just, because that internal dialogue in my head kept telling me how horrible I was because I wasn't perfect. And forgiveness and compassion allows us to be gentle. And the thing I like to say is treat yourself like you were your best friend. Your best friend wouldn't say to you, "Oh, Elizabeth, you're so horrible. Like, what kind of idiot would ever do that? Oh my God." Like, your best friend wouldn't talk to you like that. Your best friend would say, "Oh, you made a mistake. Oh, don't worry, like, it'll be better next time." They don't say like, you must be just the worst person in the world." So if we treat ourselves as if we're our best friend, eventually we're going to become our best friend. And this is where that self-love comes in, because as a perfectionist, we're chasing accomplishments for fulfillment, and that fulfillment doesn't come. And it feels like, well, for me, it felt like a black hole. It felt like I'd have an accomplishment and it would just get sucked into that black hole and disappear. And perfectionists, we don't celebrate our accomplishments because we're on to the next one, because, just keep getting into that black hole. But I was able to fill it with light and love as I was able to explore in that, in that black hole, because shadows, I was experiencing the shadows, but the shadows we can see in the shadows because there's light. If there
There
was
has
no
to be
light, there would be
light to
no
be
shadows,
shadow. Yeah, I get that.
right?
And I'm thinking that really the foundation, the H for healthy expression of emotion, is what allows for that next piece.
Absolutely.
You have to start there. I love the fact that you started with that, because that does give a place for light to be possible. Because suppressing emotion is not like you can pick and choose. At least that was my experience of it. If I'm suppressing the anger, I'm also suppressing the joy.
Absolutely. And that was a huge lesson that I learned. And I didn't even realize how much anger I had been carrying until one of my sons said, "Hey, Mom, I heard that you should just write about anger, like that um, depression is repression and anger turned inward, and you should write down about how angry you are." Well, I thought that was silly. I'm not angry, but I thought I'm going to do whatever I think can help. So I sat down and I wrote, "I am angry that." And just ever came to mind. Like 5 pages later, I went, oh, wow.
Little bit of
Yes,
anger
I
there.
am kind of angry.
All right. So we've got H for healthy expression of emotion, A for allow forgiveness and compassion, which allows for gentleness.
Mhm.
What's P?
Okay, so the first P is personal empowerment. And what I mean by that is focus on yourself, on those things you have control over, which starts with emotions and thoughts and things like that. Because what happens is, and I know for myself, I was fixated on trying to, you know, make everything in my life and everybody else perfect. Okay. And I wasn't looking at myself. And so situations and circumstances and people and trying to fix them. And then I, couldn't do it. But when I started to look at myself and I started, with the H of healthy emotions and allowing for forgiveness and compassion with myself and focusing on those things that I could do for me. That was huge. That was a huge shift because I started to see myself less and less as a victim of situations and other people, but as a creator. And that's a huge paradigm shift because when we look from a victim perspective, things are done to us.
Mm-hmm.
And possibilities are extremely limited. But when we look from a creator standpoint, the possibilities are almost endless.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So that's my version of personal empowerment.
Cool. And so the second P?
The second P is passion and purpose. And this is, finding, if you're not sure what it is, uncover it. Because everybody has passion and purpose. Everybody's here to do something that, only you can do. I didn't know. You could have never told me 10 years ago that I would be writing poetry and I would be a best-selling author. And like, are you kidding me? But I did this exercise in 2012, and it said something like, if I have a magic wand, and it didn't sound crazy, I would ... And I wrote, be a writer, because I thought that was the craziest thing I could think of.
Got
And
it.
now I am.
Sometimes crazy is where we're headed. And crazy town is not necessarily a bad place to go because it's such a relative term. All right. So we've got H for healthy expression, A for allow, P for personal empowerment, P for passion and purpose. Next letter is I.
Next letter is I, and that's inspiration. So basically, I feel like we are all part of something bigger than us, but that is part of us. And so if you call it spirituality, if you call it religion, whatever grounds you in that way, that gives you inspiration, to me, that is a necessary part of life. And it has been, it's been huge in my journey. And I do meditation, I do visualizations, so whatever feeds your soul.
Cool. Whatever feeds your soul, whatever inspires you. So finding what inspires me. There we go. I'll make it personal. Finding what inspires me. And I love the fact that you made it about something bigger than myself because it wasn't until I say my purpose tapped me on my shoulder because I sure as heck was not prepared for it. So just if people haven't found their purpose, I'm going to say, hey, don't worry, your purpose just might find you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, really true. So that's lovely. Something that was so big that I could not do it myself is where I ended up. And so that's what inspires me. Okay. I want to make sure we get through this and can answer some questions. So what is the E?
Okay, so the E is exercise and self-care. So basically feeding your
Oh,
body, right? And feed it healthy food, exercise, sleep. That one was a struggle for me because I'm so busy doing, and I would stay up late and not get enough sleep, right? But
all right. If anybody else has sleep challenges, because I've been in this entrepreneurial world, and we're both, now that I have my purpose, I'm considered mission driven, accent on the word driven. If you don't sleep much, pop it into the chat. We might have to start that as part of the perfectionist hub. Yeah. So my tech support person says she hasn't slept a lot recently. Go figure.
well, and once in a while, these things do happen, okay?
Mhm.
But talking about consistency and momentum, and that brings us to the last one, which is the R. It stands for routine,
Ah,
and it's not what you think.
oh, good, because you were about to lose me. I was going to check out. Yeah. Routine?
Routine is
No, don't do.
really hard for me.
All right. So how did you, as a perfectionist, I could imagine a routine could be a nightmare. So how
Right.
did
So
you
I
manage?
gave myself permission. I don't have to do it every day. This is day by day, moment by moment. Whatever you can do, just build momentum and focus on the progress of the HAPPIE. Okay. That's the routine of it. So it's kind of, you've got the bookends of the emotions, and then, like, as you're able, sometimes you don't feel like it. I've been sick for the past couple of weeks. I think you can hear in my voice. And so it just hasn't I haven't been doing as much of my routines, right?
Mhm.
I'm still doing portions of them, but I gave myself permission not to do something every single day. And
Got it.
that was really important as a perfectionist, because in the beginning I felt like I was failing if I didn't do something every day. And I realized it's about the momentum, so that I keep it up, so that I basically keep myself habitually happy.
Habitually happy. I do love that. All right. So how to go from perfectionism and depression to habitually happy in 7 simple steps. I think that's a great title. Oh, and speaking of great titles, Elizabeth, you put together a wonderful gift for everyone who is listening and everyone who's participating in the show. So I'm going to have Katie drop that into the chat, and it'll be in the show notes if you're listening to this. It is your healthy habits checklist. So I loved it. 7 lessons for lasting joy. And so this is just such a wonderful thing. And I like easy to follow formats. Okay. Not that I have any perfectionist tendencies, but following from dot to dot to dot is so much easier than having to figure it out on my own.
Absolutely. I'm happy to share what worked for me and hope that it works for you.
That's such a wonderful gift. So let's see. All right. So we covered the 7 habits. I was like, I'm listening to you and I'm going, oh my God, this is the LSD of our generation. Lonely, sad, and depressed. It is a very different kind of drug than what was in the previous generation, which was a psychedelic. This is a psychodrama kind of drug, a psychotrauma drug with this combination of loneliness, sadness, and depression. And I'm wondering if we may have the cure for it in this checklist and in these 7 healthy habits. that there's a way to come out of being lonely, sad, and depressed, because those three states, and they are three distinct states for me, based on my own experience as a depression survivor, these mean a lot to have them put in such a simple way to realize that it could be a lifetime pattern. It could be circumstantial, or, and it could be a lifetime pattern. And it really doesn't matter. Go on the happy journey, following those 7 steps, grab the healthy habits checklist, follow the 7 lessons, and take advantage of this gift from Elizabeth. So that's my heartfelt statement to everybody watching or listening. And Elizabeth, let's see, what else can we do? We can answer any questions, and we can absolutely continue. Now, best-selling author, what's the title of your book?
From the Shadows, A Journey of Self-Discovery and Renewal. And it has 55 of my poems in them.
Woo!
I'm going to be releasing this year another poetry book of poems that didn't make it in there. That's Escaping the Shadows. And the one all about multi-generational motherhood guilt memoir. So I'm involving my mother and my grandmother and a great grandaunt in with my stories, and it's all about forgiveness. So that's The Light Within, Freedom Through Forgiveness. And I will make the Habitually Happy a book. Yeah, it wants to come out. So
all right. So any mothers in the room who deal with motherhood guilt, just know that help is coming. But in the meantime, grab the healthy habits checklist. It certainly can't hurt.
Yeah. Should I share my Great Day song for the Great Day
Oh,
movement?
absolutely. Cool.
Okay.
All right. So
All
for
right.
those of you who don't know, the roots of the Teen Suicide Prevention Society are the Make It a Great Day movement. And so I love this song. Please share it.
All right. Today's gonna be a great day. Today's gonna be a great day. Today's gonna be a great day, 'cause I'm choosing that way. No matter what they do or say, I will step from the fray, learn from bumps along the way, 'cause my mindset's at play. And that's why you'll hear me say, today's gonna be a great day. Today's gonna be a great day, 'cause I'm choosing that way. Fears, concerns will hold no sway. Toxic self-talk will I slay. My self-care keeps them at bay, 'cause my mindset's at play. And that's why you'll hear me say, today's gonna be a great day. Today's gonna be a great day, 'cause I'm choosing that way. Life's no longer blue and gray. Sun shines throughout the day. Come what may, love leads the way, 'cause my mindset's at play. Giving thanks while I drift away. Today was a pretty great day. Today was a pretty great day, 'cause I chose that way.
Woo! All right. Elizabeth, thank you so very, very much. This is the power of a live event, because with you having been sick and you were concerned about your voice, and yet that was beautiful. So here's to the power of being on purpose. You never know what's going to happen. Elizabeth, thank you very much for joining us today and for being a part of the suicide prevention movement and supporting the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. cannot thank you enough for all that you have given today and for the gifts that you have given to everyone.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Jackie.